But yeah, thank you guys for joining. Last week we were going through how to make a soda, and I've been working on some sodas as well. And says it works, but I'm very fuzzy. Yeah, it's not the greatest connection here today. So if you can hear me, how's the sound quality? Is it also a little bit shaky? Um, okay, yeah, it's a bit fuzzy. All right. Yes. So, what I'll do is I'll schedule a live for later this week. We'll have the okay. Diana says the sound is good. Sounds good. Okay. Awesome. Right on. Well, thank you guys for sticking with me through these technical difficulties. But yeah, last week I was working on some sodas. Um, and I did a root beer soda. Also did a green apple soda, and I'm looking at maybe sharing some of these sodas as well with my local community. Really inspired to be more in touch with not only consuming local but also producing local as well, and creating something as well for the community. So um, but since we have good sound, maybe not the best video, um, I'll hope to be hopping on live and reschedule this. So, but for today, I just have some reading, and then some time for reflection, and we'll make it a shorter one here today. But I was definitely inspired to hop on today. Um, talking about we were talking about stewardship before I got cut off on the internet here, and one of the biggest things was our identity when it comes to stewardship and the characteristics that we embody, and how do we actually embody those characteristics of a good steward. Um, and I believe that those characteristics are inherent in all of us. It's not always about striving to become something else, but really to spend time revealing who we truly are and the glory of God and what He has put in our hearts, and spending time in stillness to actually uncover that, especially with all of the distractions that we have. My bedtimes have been significantly better in the last few days, just from giving some extra time to reading my Bible, spending more time in silence, and we've talked about this before, but also not just praying, but also creating time to listen. So, one of the exercises and journal prompts that I've been going through the last few nights has been, asking three different requests, from God, not to treat God as, like a magic genie, of being like, hey, grant me this wish. Um, but of declaring that reality and the good things that God has given to us. He's given us vision, clarity, strategies, and plans for our life, plans to prosper and hope for a future. And it's up to us to reveal those things and to create room for them in our life. So, I had three areas in my life that I felt really inspired to talk about what that vision is and actually write it out. And then next to those three different things in your life that you're cultivating more of, that you'd like to see happen in your life, you write next to it. I'm trying to remember what the verse is, but essentially it's nothing is impossible with God. And so, really cultivating that energy, if things that you really hope for in your life, if you really had the faith and the hope for them, and you understood that nothing is impossible with God, what is it that you would be asking God? What is it that you'd be working towards in your life? And not only not the what, but the who. Who would you be? and how would you be showing up in your life? And so what I've been doing is, creating more time for stillness, for that part of myself to be revealed, because it's easy for me to go through my day and the to-do list comes up, even our circumstances comes up, and the mind comes up trying to strategize, trying to control. And so when we can focus on nothing isn't possible with God, all those other things fade away. So, the one verse and reflection that I have today is from this book called Restoration Year, um, and it's called The Glory You Were Meant For. And the Bible verse with this one is Romans 8:30. It says, "Those he justified, he also glorified." And so um, the reading goes as, when you find yourself taking a second glance in the mirror, when you pause to look again at a photograph, your heart is looking for the glory you were meant to have, if only because you know you long to have it. You remember faintly that you were once more than what you have become. Your story didn't start with sin, and thank God it does not end with sin. It ends with glory restored. And in the meantime, you have been transformed, and you are being transformed. You've been given a new heart. Now God is restoring your glory. He is bringing you fully alive, because the glory of God is you fully alive. Well, if this is all true, why don't I see it? Precisely. The fact that you do not see your good heart and your glory is only proof of how effective the assault has been on you. You don't see yourself clearly. You're under a spell, alert and oriented times zero, with no idea who you really are. Whatever glory was bestowed, whatever glory is being restored, you thought this whole thing was about trying not to sin, going to church, or being nice. Jesus says it is about healing your heart, setting it free, and restoring your glory. And the prompt with this reading is to spend a few minutes in front of a mirror, and noticing what arises in your heart and what you say to yourself. Because most of the time, it isn't always necessarily kind. So it might be good to renounce those things so your heart can come out from under your own self contempt. Try it. So that's definitely, my encouragement. Um, I've found it a powerful practice to spend some time, when I'm like brushing my teeth or before I go to bed, to actually look in the mirror and have that same kind of reflection, looking deeply into my own eyes, and even just saying, "I love you," to yourself when you're in the mirror, and noticing what comes up for you, and sitting with that for more than you're comfortable with, and notice what arises in it. And the same thing can happen when we're looking internally as well, not just at external mirrors, but when we're also, looking inwards. Are we allowing all those different programming and spells that we've been put under from cultural conditioning, from our upbringing, from ancestral things? Are those on the screen of our internal mirror? Or are we clearing up that mirror and actually allowing for that glory that God put in us to reflect back to us? So, start with the mirror, whether it's in your bathroom, even if you're driving somewhere. Um, I'm sure we've all experienced this sometimes, if we got our phone and, the camera pops up. It's like, what's your first thoughts about that? So, just bringing more of God's glory into your life and allowing it to shine through you. And the other Bible verse as well, that I have been really been using as assistance for me to, get rid of the distraction of my circumstances, to get back into that power of nothing is impossible with God, and allowing his glory to shine through all the different situations that I've been, holding in my heart is 2 Corinthians, and it's verse 6 to 9. And it's this. So it says, "Remember this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each man should give what he has decided in his heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." And this is my favorite part as well. "And God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." So that's my also, encouragement to you today. Just knowing that the God that's in your life, is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound every good work and every good work. And what a beautiful thing to contemplate in our lives, especially when circumstances come up. Um, you know, just this month, I had some change in, you know, income and where I was expecting things to come through. Um, and I also feel a sense of vitality coming back as well, and also a hope as well, and a much calmer state of being than I would have expected. You know, especially given my circumstances, and I'm just reading this verse every day, and I'm like, nothing is impossible with God. So, you know, although things are, unknown for me right now, I'm deep in a state of trust. Um, and I just know nothing is impossible with God. So, going back to the Bible verse and the reflection about stillness, one of my favorite Bible verses, this is the last one that has really been on my mind as well, that has popped up. I know I'm a little bit scattered with these ones right now, but I'm making sense of it, as I'm sharing with you guys. And, I've been spending time in silence, spending time trying to really create an atmosphere that God's glory can shine through. And one of the verses that popped up for me was Psalm 62:5. And this one is a verse, written by David. And, given his circumstances, that was the kind of tie-in. I'm like, wow, like, think of all these characters in the Bible and, their circumstances, what they were going through. And especially for someone like David that was, being hunted down and, had all these people coming at him, for him to be praising God through it all. It's a beautiful reflection. Psalm 62:5. "My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him." And, it's a sense of not only directing our souls back to God, but being still and being silent and waiting for God, and turning our whole inner being towards him. And that includes, shutting out a lot of those other voices that might be coming up in our consciousness, and turning our soul completely towards God. And so, with God as our rock, as our salvation and our refuge and our hope coming from him, a good reflection is to ask yourself, what has been speaking louder to your soul lately, than the voice of God and the voice of truth? What are those other voices that are speaking louder than that right now, that need to be silenced? And, for me, a lot of it was my logical mind, my mind that is craving certainty, and I would say a mix of pride with that as well, of, wanting to be able to do it by myself, of trying to just figure it out by myself, instead of waiting patiently for an answer. With circumstances in life, even like changes of income, being like, okay, this, I'm gonna have to go sell this thing. I'm gonna have to, maybe look for a job, whatever it may be. It's like, instead of me trying to figure that out, what if I turn to God first instead of listening to all these other voices of, my mind trying to figure it out, or my emotions, feeling that uncertainty, the voice of fear, instead of, you know, listening to those voices, how can I create silence to listen to God's voice? And, a good way to identify those voices is to ask yourself, where am I looking for certainty, security, or reassurance from something that was never meant to provide it? And the next question that I kind of take myself through in that process is, do I allow every emotion and thought to lead me, or have I learned to direct my soul back to God? And the final question that I take myself through after that one is, what would it look like today to tell my soul, be still before God alone? My hope comes from Him. And so, to finish off this live, let's find out what it would look like today to tell our souls, be still before God alone. My hope comes from Him. And let's shut off those other voices, and tune into the voice of God. And yeah, reflect on those things in your life that you want to see more of in your life. And one of the things that I also think that God loves about us, and is a quality from Him that's reflected in us, is a sense of boldness as well. Of being willing to ask for the big thing, of being willing to dream it, to vision it. Because, through the great things that we have accomplished as humans, it's really all of God's glory that shines through it. So, I'll just hold in mind one thing today that you want to see in your life, and, write it out. There's power in that. And next to that, I believe it's Jeremiah 29:17. I could be wrong. So, but it's, nothing is impossible with God. So, um, you know, let's create that space for silence. I'd love to do some breath work with you guys here today. So the style of breath, I have taken you guys through a very similar one week after week, and we'll stay consistent with that. Um, but today we're going to be a little bit more potent with it. This is a much more powerful breathing technique. So if at any time, you feel like it's too much, just slow down your breath. A general rule is elongate your exhales if you're feeling a bit panicky, or you feel like it's a little bit too overstimulating. Listen to your body, listen to yourself for whatever this is. So, as we're doing the breathing exercises, you can follow along, but you can also use this as a time to just sit in stillness. Use it as a time to breathe however you're feeling your body needs to breathe. You guys are your own breath masters. But the the flow that I want to go with today is a dopamine activation breathing. So essentially, what it is going to be fully in through the belly, fully in through the mouth. You're going to feel it in your belly and your chest, and then just releasing the breath. So it's going to look and sound like this. And so, if you feel like your mouth is getting a little bit too dry, you can also just breathe in through the nose. So, but following the same rhythm. And for this one, we're going to do that kind of breathing for about a minute. And then we're going to do an inhale retention at the end. And then we're just going to sit in silence and, really focus on that verse, Psalm 62:5. My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. And just creating that space for your soul to orientate towards God. So again, we're breathing for a minute in through the mouth, fully in. We're going 100% in, and then just letting the breath fall out. And we're going to start with a nice slow pace. And by the end of it, this is what is going to be a little bit different from what we've done before. We're going to be constantly increasing the tempo. So for, the first 10 breaths will be nice and slow. I'll say double the tempo. We'll double the tempo. It'll be a little bit faster. And then I'll say double the tempo again. We'll be going a little bit faster. And at that point, I won't be able to say double the tempo because I'll probably be breathing along here. But you can follow along. And then I'll cue the inhale retention, which at that point, when you're breathing in, you can hold it for as long as you feel comfortable. But when you do that inhale retention, you will notice a sensation of potentially lightheadedness, a little bit of tingling sensations. Release the breath if you're not comfortable with those sensations, and just focus on elongated exhales. Because I've known that people have came close to passing out if they push it too much. So the goal is not really to push it. The goal is really just to clear our minds, and whatever pace you need to go at for that, go with that. Go with what's comfortable for you. So let's get started. So again, fully in, just letting the breath fall out. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Double the tempo. Double the tempo. Double the tempo. Keep going. And we're going to do 3 long breaths here in 3, 2, 1. Now fully in, fully out, fully in, fully out. Now fully in, fully out, and now fully in, and we're going to hold the breath here. And just allowing yourself to receive this silence, this time in silence. Remembering Psalm 62:5. My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. Orientate your soul towards God with the ears of all your being. Turn it towards God. And if the mind is busy, those thoughts are coming up, just return back to your breath. Just let them pass by like the wind, pass by like clouds, and just listen. Before you go on with your day, uh, just pray over anyone tuning in today that whatever fruits of this time in silence, of this time together, that it would just trickle into your life, that you could receive the fruits of spirit, and that you would continue to be good stewards of your mind, of your body. And as we just practiced the steward of your soul, and continuing to orientate that towards God. And I pray that not only that time in front of the mirror, but that time in reflection, that time in conversation with others, that time in contemplation, that God's glory would be reflected back to you. and that as stewards of your own soul, that you would reflect that glory back to everything around you and to everyone else. And again, I just pray over all our circumstances that we would just continue to put our hope in God and know that nothing is impossible with God, and that God would reveal the vision of our lives, that He would give us that strategy, how to move forward, that clarity, how to move forward, that He would put us in the right environments and put us around the right people as well, and to orientate us towards His goodness and His plans for us to prosper. And again, I pray, that 2 Corinthians 9, verse 8, that would just continue to just ebb and flow in our hearts and in our consciousness. Whatever circumstances that we're going through, just know that God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. And I pray that for everyone tuning in here today. So bless your week. Spend that time in silence, and write out that one thing, that you're coming to God with, and write it out. And next to it, just write, nothing is impossible with God. May you abide in Him this whole entire week. And I mean, really for the rest of our lives, but really, just cultivate that for the rest of your week. Because truthfully, all of us, every single moment, we can wake ourselves up. Because, we live in a world that is distracting us, that is, bringing these things, trying to vie for our attention, and really, our soul as well. So take back your power. Every single moment is a moment for you to shut off the noise of that and sit in silence with God. The same way that I recommend people doing micro workouts when they're trying to get fit, 5 push-ups here, or, take the stairs, or, go for a walk after your meal. These like micro workouts to improve your physical health. Let's take some micro silences this whole entire week to give that time for God to reveal His glory to us, and for us to show that we trust God. What can you give to Him this week? And just say, God, I trust you with this. Let's take time, some micro silences this week, and just give it all to God. So all the blessings to everyone here. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. And, thanks again for staying with me through these technical difficulties. And also, thanks, Diana, for your prayers as well with that. I appreciate that. Can definitely use that. So I'm just grateful for everyone here today, and have the most blessed week ever. I'll talk to you guys later, and thanks, Skip. May God be with each and every one of us. So let's live life to the fullest every moment. All right, blessings, you guys.